taking the time today to come see Mr. Bryan Mullet. And he actually is a graduate of Whitewater, and he's been progressing at Bradley Corporation very rapidly. So just a little bit of background on him. He's currently the president, CEO of Bradley Corporation. And you've heard of Bradley Corporation, I'm sure, but they design and manufacture commercial washroom and emergency safety products. And he represents the 5th generation of ownership and leadership of Bradley Corporation. So it's a family firm, and at lunch he was talking about just how this has moved from family members and all the challenges associated with that. And so he started as a corporate manager position, as a sales manager for washroom divisions, then as a national sales manager, and then followed by director of corporate customer relations. And then after building sales and service knowledge, he became vice president, plumbing operations, which include manufacturing, purchasing, and quality. He was then appointed to Bradley's board of directors in 2011, and then chief strategy officer in 2013. So help me welcome Mr. Bryan Mullet.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, as you heard, I'm president, CEO, 5th generation owned family business. I'm one of 4 shareholders in the organization. We've got 5 manufacturing plants located around the Midwest, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and then another plant, sister operation in Guadalajara, Mexico. Talk a little bit about, I think this is ethics and code of conduct, and my personal code of conduct and commitment to the organization. Have a letter, I think, that will be handed out as well that you guys will see. Okay, excellent, excellent. So I'm like more engagement and participation from all of you. And I guess one of the first things I'll start with is, as my job as president and CEO, what do you think I spend most of my time doing? And it's okay, you don't have to have the answer, but just start spitting out ideas or thoughts, or what do you think? Go ahead.
Decision making.
Decision making, yep. What else?
Meeting with other people.
What's that?
Meeting with other CEOs.
Yep, yep. Meeting with other people, networking, very good, yep. Keep going, what else?
Maintaining the image of your company.
Yep. Maintaining the reputation and brand equity, yep, excellent, yep. What else? What do you think I spend 80% of my time doing?
Making sure the business is ethical.
Yep, yep, very good. What else? I spend 80% of my time dealing with people, working with people. And I can tell you, motivating and managing and working with people in a business, whether it's a family business or a publicly traded company, I spend 80% of my time working with people. Why do you think I do that? Vision, passion, right? Have to have passion. Last class I was in, it was about entrepreneurship. You know, people want to be entrepreneurs. They got lots of great ideas. What do you think is the single most important thing if you want to invent something or you want to be an entrepreneur?
You probably need contacts.
Yep, contacts, right? Networking, yep, good. What else? It's okay, there's not a wrong answer.
Being able to communicate your idea.
Yes, very good. Communication. What else? So we had, in the last class, we had a young lady. She invented a product line with shoes and painting shoes. And I asked her how many shoes she makes in an hour. She made 1 pair of shoes a day. right? And so I spent 80% of my time dealing and working with people, motivating, getting them to see the vision and understand where we're going and what we're doing. So you can imagine a startup, and she's an entrepreneur, and bless her heart, you know, she put her dream aside to finish education. But what do you think the one thing that that's, or multiple things that are missing? Do you think she knows anything about manufacturing? No. And that's okay. She's an entrepreneur, right? She's starting up a startup. What else? What else do you think? Capital. Excellent. Very good. One of the most important things that I'll tell you is when you're working with people, you need to surround yourself by people that know more or probably are good at things that you aren't good at. People skills, right? So she has to go from making 1 shoe a day, and I gave the analogy, I said, okay, now you got to do 50 shoes a day. How are you going to do that? She doesn't know how to do it, right? So she has to surround herself by people that know more about business than she does. She's got great ideas, right? So you talk about dealing with people, you talk about all this stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about the code of conduct and ethics. We're talking about family business. I can tell you, I've taken in my position over the 20 years of being at Bradley Corporation a lot of hits across the chin. Made a lot of mistakes, took some risks, challenges, all that kind of stuff. But what do you think, what else do you think that was missing in some of the stuff that she was trying to do? Got a lot of good comments over here. What else? What else? So there was a magazine. It's called Chief Executive, and they move around all over the country. They invite CEOs from all over the country. I spoke at the Italian Center, and you know I'm a young CEO, and I get up and it's my turn to speak in front of all the CEOs, a lot of them from around the country, and come in, and I get up to the podium, and there's a lot of smart people in the room. And the question I asked, I said, who do you think is the smartest person in the room? Now you can imagine a young 44-year-old CEO, snot-nosed kid, thinks he knows everything. They're probably looking at me like, oh boy, this guy's not going to make it. How could he be CEO? So I asked the question, who in the room thinks, and this is all the CEOs, who in here thinks they're the smartest person in the room? I had to ask the question twice. And finally, I chimed in. I said, the smartest person in the room is the person that admits that he's not the smartest person in the room. Because when he realizes and understands that he's going to surround himself by people that know more about subjects that he is not good at or doesn't like. So imagine talking about, well, I'll tell you some of the things that I'm not good at. I'm not an accountant. I like looking at the numbers. I have to look at the financials. I have to ask questions of the CFO to understand, to help us make good decisions. But I'm not good at it. HR. Don't know much about HR. Know a lot about people. So you can imagine some of the things that I don't know much about. We talk about family business. I grew up in a family business. I know a lot about family business. Very passionate about what we do. Very passionate about family business, the culture. But I have to get people. I have to connect with people, and I have to make sure that they see, one, the vision, two, there's a clear path of growth. If I'm sitting in your chair and you're working for me, and you don't know the direction of the company and where we're going, what do you think? Not so good, right? So now think about buy-in. So I have 2,000 employees, and I have to get them to move the needle. And think about, how do I motivate them? How do I get them engaged? I have to ask a lot of questions. Not only do I have to ask a lot of questions, but I have to ask for help. So the issue of making one pair of shoes a day to 50 pairs of shoes a day, I don't know how to do it. But I have to ask. You want to talk about employee engagement? That's how you're going to get employee engagement. Asking them to help you solve a problem. Who likes solving problems in here? I can't imagine anybody doesn't like solving problems. Problem solving is really important. Project management is really important. So when you look at some of these things, some of these thoughts, what am I thinking? Why am I thinking what I'm thinking? You can imagine 4 minds are better than 2, 6 are better than 4. So it's really, really important. You want to get engagement, in a family business, you got to make sure you're communicating, and then communicate some more, and then communicate some more, and communicate some more. So imagine, what's your name? Jackson. Jackson? Okay. So now imagine I whisper something into Jackson's ear, and it's got to go to you, and it's got to go over to you, and it goes to the next aisle, and it goes all the way back, and all the way forth, all the way back, and it gets to the last guy in the room. You think he's going to say the same thing that I told you? No. So you got to communicate. You talk about my passion, being in a family business. One of the things that, the ethics and code of conduct, I have mine right here. Words I live by, things I talk about. It's in the employee handbook. There's a letter in here as well from me to the organization. Every new employee gets. But you talk about this stuff. If I don't wear it on my sleeve, you think the employees in the organization are going to be passionate about it and follow it? Probably not. So we talk a lot about family business. It's hard enough to run a business, and then you add family into the business. It's very challenging. You look at the emotion in family members. Could you imagine working all week and you're fighting with your siblings, and you got the chairman of the board is the owner, and who do you think wants to go to a Sunday barbecue after a week of messing around and fighting with your family? Probably nobody, right? Pretty difficult. So you can imagine the trials and tribulations dealing with a family business. So I can tell you, one of the things I learned a long time ago is don't let the family destroy the business, and don't let the business destroy the family. If you get nothing else out of today, there's 2 things. That's one of them, and number 2 is the passion. Whatever you do, you got to be passionate about it. And you have to wear the passion on your sleeve. You got to get people to believe, and they aren't going to follow you if you don't make them part of the process, if you don't make them part of the vision, if you don't make them involved in the decision making. People want to be heard. People want to be listened to. Do you think I know what's going on with a guy that's bending product on a brake press on the shop floor? Probably not. So let me ask you guys questions. Why are you sitting in this room today? Why did you want to come to this class or this open lecture? I just rattled stuff up. There's not a wrong answer.
Rich from Badger Meter yesterday, he spoke yesterday and he said that he'd enjoy your talk. So.
Rich Musin, he's a firecracker, isn't he? He's like a spark plug. He's a wonderful guy. I really like him. We talk a lot. We talk a lot about business, what's going well, what we're struggling with. But what else? Do you have to be here? Or is it something that, what's interesting to you? Why are you here today? Well, you can tell me too, your professor made you come to come to the lecture. Why did you come here today? Extra credit. Okay, good. I can tell you, when you get to meet with the CEOs, you think you're going to hear the straight scoop? Probably. You're probably going to hear about real life lessons. You're probably going to hear about, business. I think it's actually brilliant that UW-Whitewater is bringing in CEOs into the classroom. That's pretty smart on their part. Because someday we're going to need ladies and gentlemen like you working in the organization. So what keeps you guys up at night? What's your name?
Nick.
Nick? You have anything that keeps you up at night? Exam week?
Definitely some exams. Trying to be successful.
Yeah. What else?
Exams too.
Exams?
Work.
Yeah.
Finding a job.
Finding a job. Okay. Let's talk about the job. So we have a job fair. I'm standing in the booth. The CEO is standing in a 10 by 10 booth. I don't have to be there, right? But could you imagine walking into a job fair and you get to meet the CEO of a company? So I guess where I'm going about this is passion and people, but I'm going to tell you something that I think is really, really important. If you take another thing away from this, what do you think the first question I get asked at a job fair in the booth? What do you think they ask me?
What does your company do?
Yep, it's a good question, but it's not number one. But right, what else?
How much you make?
That's number 3. You hear what he said? How much do you make? What else? Just spit it out.
Do you have any job openings?
You have any job openings? Yep, very good. Not number 1. Not number 2.
How did you get to where you are?
Yes, I have been asked that, but it's a good one. What else?
Why is the CEO here?
Why is the CEO here? Yeah, great. It's great because I want to meet and have people see who I am, how I operate, and if I'm passionate about and I believe in what I believe in. Okay, but here's number 1. Number 1 question I get asked at a job fair, and I'm going to tell you, this is not the answer or not the question you want to ask. How much vacation do I get? Okay, so whatever you do, don't ask that question at a job fair or an interview. How much vacation do I get? Okay, you guys are laughing. I think it's great. Believe me, if my son's that, he's going to get a boot in his butt. What do you think number 2 is? It's okay. What do you think number 2 is? Not a wrong answer.
Why do you work? Where are you working?
Yep. That's number 5. Why are you here? Why are you at Bradley? That's a great one.
How much will I make?
Yeah, that's number 3.
What are the responsibilities?
Yep, another one. I'll tell you what number 2 is. Can I wear my earbuds at work? Yeah, don't ask that question either. Okay, I'm helping you guys because this is important and it's good stuff. You got to have good people skills. I spend 80% of my time dealing and working with people. You have to have good people skills. You have to be able to interact. You have to be part of a team. You have to work and collaborate as a team, as a unit. So you think wearing earbuds at work is going to help? Probably not. Probably not. And then number 3 is pay. How much do I get paid? Okay, those first 3 questions, don't ask. It's not going to reflect well on your future. God bless your parents. They probably are both working. But those are things that I learn about, and I have to understand what makes people tick, what makes them motivated. How do I get people to work at Bradley Corporation? I love disruption. I love shaking things up. I like stirring the pot. I hate to stir up the hornet's nest too much because that could be a little tricky. But those are some of the things that I think that people need to know and need to understand. When you talk about integrity, you talk about ethics, you talk about code of conduct. I want people to be able to rattle off our mission statement. I want people to be able to know exactly the direction we're going. So if I go on the shop floor and I'm bringing a tour of customers through, the employee says, and I ask the employee, say, hey, what are we doing? What's our vision? What are we doing in 2017? He or she should be able to rattle it right off. So it's really important that you surround yourself, I mentioned, by good people, making sure that they're engaged. Make sure you communicate the expectations. So I have to communicate. I answer to the chairman of the board. I report to the board. But I also have to work for the family. So those trials and tribulations. I've been at Bradley Corporation now for it'll be 20 years this year. And I can tell you the single most important thing is that I've learned is communicating and making sure people know what's going on, especially with the family. Because we have family members that don't work in the business. I have one that has his own private business, and but he's a shareholder. He's on the board. So you can imagine the things that I have to do, and I have to communicate. So that's really key. You talk about manufacturing, problem solving, looking at the issues that you see. With the manufacturing plants that we have all throughout, I walk on the floor. I spend probably once a month. I visit all the facilities, and I do it by walking around. They call it MBWA. It's called Managed by Walking Around. I learn things. I hear things. I listen. Now here I'm talking a lot, but I can tell you when I'm in meetings or I'm talking to or listening to employees on the floor, I spend most of my time listening. Understanding what's motivating, what's driving, what are the problems they have. That doesn't mean I run back and go stir things up and saying, okay, this guy said this is broken and here's why. I ask questions. Get engagement. So, how many of you work or have worked in a family business before? Obviously, with either intern or summer job. Have any of you worked in a family business? You have? You have? What do you think? Be honest.
Different.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting? Yeah. Culture. Different?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
It's pretty difficult.
Challenging?
Yes, working with family is definitely challenging.
Okay. Now, do either of you is your family, is it your family business or is it your parents'
Yeah, my family.
your family?
Well, my parents.
Your parents?
And uncle.
Okay. And they all work together?
Yeah.
That's
Like-
good.
Like you said before, definitely makes it a little difficult coming home after you've worked with them all day.
Yeah. Not easy. So, and then have you just got a job working for a family business, or is your family own a business?
My parents own the business.
Oh, okay, excellent. All right, and what are your?
Well, when you leave, you just gotta drop everything for the day and just forget about it.
Yeah,
Don't bring your work back home.
that's right. Don't bring work home. It's very good. So anybody else work or have family that's in a family business at all? So what do you think are the biggest challenges that are going to face your parents? If you had to guess.
Communication.
Okay. What else?
Firing a family member.
Yep. Not easy. Not easy. Okay. So this is something you can learn today. You can go home and take to your parents or your uncle or whoever's running the business. And you tell them, say, hey, I heard less than 3%. Less than 3% of companies make it past the third generation. We're fifth generation. It's not even a percent. So let me ask, why do you think less than 3% of businesses make it past the third generation? And there's a lot of reasons why. I'll share you with the number one. But why do you...
Modernization, like we went through the old school way.
Yep, behind in technology, right? You got the some people might call it the old man or the patriarch that doesn't like change. He goes, I made this business, I built this business, and it doesn't, like we can keep doing it the same old way. You think that business will be around? Probably not. Look at Eastman Kodak. I don't know, you guys remember Eastman Kodak or heard of the name? Okay, well, they went out of business. Remember all the cameras? They had film. There's no more film. So, what do you guys? Let me ask you guys. What do you guys think? Why a business would make it past the third generation? Just guess. It's okay. If you had to.
Different visions.
Yep. What else?
Not firing someone you should have.
Yep. What else? Keep going. Anybody else? You guys can chime in. It doesn't have to be just family business, but why do family businesses don't make it past the third generation?
I guess the first generation works really hard building it up, and then the next generation has sort of an entitlement philosophy, so they take it, don't work as hard, and it keeps, I guess they work on it.
Okay, excellent. How do you know that? The word entitlement.
What's that?
I said the word entitlement,
Yeah.
right? The silver spoon. Entitlement. Now, how did you know that?
I don't remember where, but I heard it. So.
Okay. Well, it's an excellent answer. So, what else?
Succession planning.
I'm sorry?
Succession planning failed.
Yes. Succession planning failed. Entitlement. Still not number one. Succession planning is a big one. The guy, the patriarch might be in his 80s, and he failed a succession plan. But you know what else he probably failed to do? Estate planning. So now the company's big, and mom and dad grew the company, and you guys are you're the next generation. You're coming in, you're working, you got all this energy and passion, and let's say mom and dad pass away. Who's left to pay the tax? That's the number one reason. And it's unfortunate. And I can tell you, I haven't met a family patriarch that said, you know what? I'm not going to do any estate planning, so I screw it up, and my children, my next generation has nothing. So don't think that your parents are bad parents and they want to see you guys fail. Not at all. It's a lack of knowledge and poor planning. It's a lack of education, a lack of communication out there by either estate planning attorneys or periodicals or whatever it may be, but less than 3% make it past the third generation because of estate planning. You can't afford to pay the death tax, right? So you got a big, huge company, and if you didn't plan far enough in advance to start transferring that ownership, you have to sell the company in order to pay the tax. My father had great advisors, and obviously he started in 1990. So if it's going to stay in the family, you have to do estate planning, and you have to do really good succession planning. Somebody might ask and say, how did the board, how did my father know that I was the right person to run the company? Well, when I was 12, he didn't, right? When I was 12, I was playing sports and, enjoying the good life. But over time, with succession planning, we've hired a lot of non-family CEOs. One to mentor me and help grow, develop, that sort of thing. Put me in a position to allow me to take some risks, make some mistakes, learn from mistakes, ask a lot of questions. But I have 2 younger brothers, so there's 3 of us. And there was an article in the Biz Times. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. It's on the website. And spent 3 hours on an interview. And the person interviewing me couldn't believe my candor. He couldn't believe my openness. And really what it did is it opened up a lot of other family businesses, because nobody likes to air their dirty laundry, right? People make mistakes, firing the wrong person. My brother can't do this, my sister can't do this, my aunt's bad at this, and you can imagine all the finger pointing and the problems, but nobody wants to air their dirty laundry. Well, I can tell you one of the most important things is admitting that your family is dysfunctional. Now you're probably going and you say, hey, Dad, hey, Mom, I was at this guy, I met this CEO of a family business, and he said they're dysfunctional. You want to talk about openness and honesty? You got to come to grips with reality to where you're at in the business. The quicker you know, the quicker you can start tackling it. It's not easy. It's challenging. When you work with family, with my 2 younger brothers, one's in the business, he's 10 years younger than I am, my middle brother. So you can imagine being in my father's shoes. His dream, and it would be my dream too, and I'm sure any one of these families, their dream is to have all the children work in the business. Now, my dad tried it by force as well. But if you aren't passionate or you don't like it or it's not what you want to do, you think you're going to do it, you think you're going to be successful? Probably not. My father reorged our business 3 times to try to make it work. You could imagine the pain and the heartache on the family, on the employees. We didn't do anything. It set us back 5 years. It was tough. It was challenging. Our CEO at the time was the guy in the middle. Could you imagine with the brothers on one end working in the business and the chairman of the board on the other and the non-family CEO in the middle? Could you imagine the beating that he took? The challenges that he had? Now, God bless him, he had the passion and he had the drive and believed in the family, believed in the legacy, that sort of thing. But at some point, you can't have 3 chiefs. You can't have 3 cooks in the kitchen. Somebody has to be in charge. And it came time, and I went through the process and, got vetted out by the board and CEO and the chairman, family. And they thought I was the right guy for the job. And I can tell you, updated my resume several times over the years. All the different, I mean, I was this close to saying, you know what? You can't do it anymore. But you got to be willing to pay the price. You got to have the passion. You got to believe in what you're doing. You got to believe in the direction. You got to believe in the future. You got to believe in family business. You got to believe in the culture. You have to believe in giving back to the community. You have to believe in more than it's about people. Every time I have to make a difficult decision, I ask myself how it's going to affect 2,000 employees' families. And sometimes you got to be prepared to make difficult decisions, and they aren't easy. It's very difficult. But I love it. And without a lot of pain, I can tell you it's made me a better person. I think my character, my work ethic, everything is because of that drive and that fire in the belly to persevere, to overcome not only the challenge with the family, but then to now grow the business. You got a great opportunity, when you got fresh blood and young blood and you got a lot of energy, it recharges the organization. And it brings the passion out in the people. But bringing the passion out in the people, you can't do without engaging them. Right? How many of you guys here play sports? And ladies? Or have? Why do you play sports? It's okay. I'm not a professor. I'm just asking questions because I want to get engagement and hear what you guys have to say.
Stress reliever.
Stress reliever. Good. What else? Competitive. Like that. And it's fun. What else? Over here, somebody said, or people raised their hands, they said they played in sports in the past. Competitive, fun. What else? Make friends. What else?
Stay healthy.
Huh?
Stay healthy.
Yeah, stay healthy. Yeah, stay in shape. You got a Blackhawks jersey on, I like that. Good for you, good man. What else?
Be a part of a team.
Bingo! Did you hear what he said? Be a part of a team. Be part of a team. Collaborative. I played all sorts of different sports. Played hockey, part of a team. I had to play with guys I didn't like, but I had to figure out how to work with them. Did you guys hear that? So in real life, your professor or whatever, I have expectations. You communicate the expectations clearly, but you have to work together as a team. You have to be collaborative, right? You have to hit a deadline. What happens if you don't hit the deadline? You think you'll be working? It's not optional. As long as I'm effectively communicating the expectations and people knows what's expected of them, it's going to be successful. But you have to work together as a team, cross-functional team if need be, depending on what it is or the problem you're trying to solve. Right? I said earlier, 4 minds are better than 2. But you have to work together as a team. In real life and when you guys get out of here and out of college, I guarantee you're going to have to work as a team. You're going to have to be part of a team some point in time. And it has to be collaborative. But it's really, really critical to be successful. And you can't miss. So if the professor says, hey, listen, May 15th, the 4 of you, A, B, C, D, you guys, you're on a team. I got to have this project done by May 15th. You think it's optional if it's done by May 15th? So the good news is the professors are teaching you guys that stuff today. Because if they don't, you can't miss deadlines. Now, if a tornado comes in or something unforeseen circumstance comes in and or something changes, then you better be proactive and you better communicate what's going on. Give your boss a heads up and tell him why. Now, you don't have to play sports to be an effective team member. Or I just use it as an example because it's one that I can relate to. But teamwork and collaboration is critical. You can't get by without it. You can't do without it. You're not gonna solve problems without working together as a team. What else? What else can you think of? I also want to go back to the question is, why are you sitting in this room? I heard extra credit. I heard we got some guys that either work or parents own a family business, which is wonderful. What else? Why else or who else is in the room, and why are you in the room? Code of conduct, ethics, what else? Does anybody have any questions of me? Not very often you get a CEO. It's good that the university's doing it, but it's not very often you get to pick a brain of a CEO. What else? Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you think that the code of conduct for your employees is similar or different from other companies of your size?
Okay.
Is it driven by your particular culture?
It's driven.
Or is it pretty much what other companies are doing these days?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, quite frankly, the letter that you guys have on the second page, to me, I would call it boilerplate. It's more of a whistleblower that you'd see maybe in a publicly held or traded company. I think I can tell you one of the things that I am going to change with my letter in there is to make it more family oriented, bring more of our culture into the letter. So I think that family businesses that are probably, our size, you'll probably see more of this, but some of the smaller ones may not even have one. So it just depends. If it's a 16 employee family business and versus, a business our size, it just depends on the complexity and the size. I'd say probably family businesses are probably a little less, I'd say, or more, lackadaisical is not the right word, but I can tell you the first page, my personal code of conduct, if I'm not spewing that out of my body and having it touch and reach the employees, all that stuff is in the employee handbook and every new employee gets it. So I'd say it's different depending on the company size and the culture of the family business. Our reputation at Bradley, the first thing if you ask any employee is work-life balance, family. That's really on the inner circle. Our employees would probably come out of their mouth. Good question. What else?
I just wanted to comment. So, you hear about companies having very formal approaches to business ethics and that it's not always effective. And I think in some ways, you're saying whenever you decide something, you think about how is it going to affect the employees and so on. So it may be informal, but it works very effectively, and I think that's what you want to see.
Yes.
In culture. But also at lunch, you were mentioning like how you give back to the community, and you were also saying that it's an important part of what you do.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little
Sure.
bit? I think sharing that with students.
Yeah, excellent. So, one of the things I learned from my father is it's important to give back to the community. And so over the years, the family's been very fortunate, and we feel that we have a moral obligation to help out in the communities that we live in and serve and that sort of thing. So my father, back in the, I want to say mid to late 90s, 97, 98, donated and built an ice arena on campus at Heartland Arrowhead High School. And it was all about the kids and the children and giving them a place to have an opportunity. There's not a lot of ice arenas in the state of Wisconsin, and let alone to have one on campus. I think there's 2 or 3 in the entire state that have an ice arena on campus for men and women to play hockey. Besides that, one of the things I mentioned at lunch today is we built a manufacturing plant right in the middle of the school, South Campus at Arrowhead High School. We've also helped out with Germantown, Menominee Falls, and West Bend, different schools, to help out with manufacturing. If you ask me what keeps me up at night, is the workforce is changing. It's an aging population. Not everybody wants to go to college. You guys like it and fortunate and be able to go to college and want to get a degree and want to have aspirations, which is great. But not everybody can or wants to go to college. Some people, if you come out of high school, you have no debt. So one of the things we did is we built this manufacturing plant. We got rid of, with the school board approval, we got rid of home ec and wood shop, and I mean, you guys remember all these classes that we all had to take as an elective in high school, right? So, and there was some minor metal fabrication or bending, if you will. But essentially what we did is we wanted to help stop the stereotyping, number one. Number two, we wanted to give freshmen and sophomores the opportunity to see what it's like to design for manufacturability, innovation. Young adults love to solve problems, love to be creative thinkers. So innovation lab, engineering labs, we had 2 engineering labs for manufacturing, and we built the manufacturing plant. So we got everything from drill presses, we got brake presses, we've got a laser, we've got a robot, we've got welding torches, we've got CNC lathe, CNC mills. So all this stuff, so these students now enroll in the class. But here's the beauty, I was able to be part of, I had a big part in designing the manufacturing facility because we needed to get students to see what the stereotyping to stop was the problem with it. Working in manufacturing, it's dark, it's dirty, it's dingy, it's bad pay, and boy, it's really not it's not rewarding. You don't feel like you're appreciated. Well, so what I did is being involved in the process with the school and the architect, I put glass walls along the corridor of the hallways. Why do you think I did that? Yep, sunlight, very big one. Natural light. What else?
So other people can see what's going on there.
Bingo. So we put these glass walls up so people could see. So these students could go in and, now here's what I put inside the glass walls. I put in chairs, leather couches, chairs, refrigerator. I put in a coffee bar. We got a soda bar and a popcorn machine. You can't get access to the soda, the coffee, or the popcorn unless you're enrolled in the class. So that's what the real world looks like. We have a commons area. It's a collaborative space. Allows our employees between office and manufacturing to interact. I put it right outside our commons, is right outside of I actually took up manufacturing floor space to put this commons in, this collaborative space. There's popcorn in there. So I said, we got to build this in the school. We put it right in the middle of the school. So now these students are walking by and saying, geez, how do I get the popcorn? Got to roll in the class. So they get these real life experiences and exposure, and not only that, but real life lessons, deadlines, expectations are communicated. And then they find out if they like it. If they like it, they're great. They can go into manufacturing and engineering, or they can go down a different path. They can be a doctor, an attorney, a lawyer, accountant, whatever you want to be. But what's really, really cool is that we find out real quickly what they want to do. Now here's one of the best parts about it. So then you've got like a 101, right? And in college you got 101, 201, and different levels of classes. So you go through 101, you like it, you go to 201, you get more training. Well, when you get to be a junior or senior, we have a job board. So now you're walking down the hallway and you're not enrolled in the class. You think you get access to the job board? An internship, an experience? got to be enrolled in the class. So we give students the opportunity to get real life experience and exposure, working, being a part of a team. We don't need robots. I don't need employees pushing buttons. I need people that think and can solve problems and say, hey, Mr. Mullet, I got this great idea. Okay, bring it up. Let's talk about it. And I can't take credit for it, but I can tell you one of the things that we did do this year, you guys all, who's wearing a pair of Nike shoes? Somebody wearing a pair of Nike tennis shoes? All right, you got the swoosh, right? All right, well, and I can't take credit for it, but the CEO of Nike, which I thought was really cool, it's called Just Do It Award. So it's empowering employees, engaging employees, problem solving. And so what they did is they said, you know what, you take the bull by the horns, you have a new idea. Doesn't mean break the process, it doesn't mean circumvent the process or what we have in place, but it means if you do something and you take the bull by the horns, you get a pair of shoes. So at Bradley Corporation, we want engagement from the employees. We want them to problem solve. We want them to be part of it. And if they do something, every quarter, I communicate and I hand out shoes. I could have a stack of shoes, and somebody gets a new pair, and we're Bradley blue. Our color is blue. So they get a blue pair of Nikes, and obviously we have, for the women too, different versions. But so a lot of stuff is come on, but that's very good. I think that those are some of the things that we do for the the community and get people engaged and involved, but also our employees with problem solving. What else? What other questions? Anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
You were talking about earlier how you were 12 and didn't really know. I guess I'm just trying to, when and how did you find the passion to become the CEO of your dad's business?
So I was asked in the entrepreneur class as well, how did I know, or how did I get the passion, or I think growing up in the family business, I'll tell you why and how I got the passion. I love the people. I love the industry. I love the people on the manufacturing floor. I got accustomed to interacting and relating, and I'm a people person, and that's what got the passion, going. It's where I wanted to be. Now, I worked in 2 other jobs before I came to Bradley. They were good companies. I didn't have a problem with them. I learned a lot, what to do, what not to do. Some ideas to bring back, But, so, I didn't know. It's not like when I was 12, I knew. When you're 12, your mind's going a million miles an hour. It's like what's my analogy? With a hockey player that's in it's a mini mite or a square, it's like a chipmunk on NyQuil. I mean, you're going a million miles an hour. You're not thinking about stuff like that. But the passion has grown, and the reason it's grown, and the reason I love the business that I'm in, is because of the people. The people I get to work with in the industry, the people I like. I like doing business with people. And somehow I got to work with the good ones, and somehow I got to figure out how to work with the ones that I don't like so much. But I have to do it. Great question. What else?
As a CEO, I know you're probably really busy, things like that. So, what really makes you want to come in to talk to students like us, and what's the main idea you want us to take away from the presentation?
I love it. See, these are great questions. Well, the reason I love stuff like this, and I love mentoring. I've been coaching hockey for 20 years. I love giving back, helping out students, and any chance. That's why I said it was brilliant that the university is bringing in CEOs, because you guys get to ask questions that people don't get to ask every day. So I think I love doing this because I love interacting. I love helping, and I want to give people a chance. You know, if there's some students that, you know, over the years that have went through the hockey program that I've coached, and I've, you know, offered them an opportunity to get their foot in the door. And once they get their foot in the door, they're on their own. Because I believe in giving people the opportunity to grow and develop and be part of something special. And then the second part to your question, what's the biggest thing I take away is everything I've been talking about today. It's you know what it is? You got to love what you're doing. You got to be passionate about it. And if you're passionate about it, people will follow you. And you know, you got to wear the good stuff on your sleeve. You got to wear the passion on your sleeve. You got to get people engaged. You know, things aren't going to go well all the time, and you can't wear that on your sleeve. I think one of the guys said over here, you can't take work home. So, you know, I think between that and communication, I think a couple of things that I have that I will share with all of you. Again, it's part of my job of helping you guys and giving back. And these are a couple books I brought along. I like to read. I read a lot. But the biggest thing for me was talking about if there's something that you can take away, and you can obviously buy it on a CD, and you can listen to it in your car on the way home from, if you live up in Stevens Point, you can get it done in a few hours. It's a book called It's Your Ship. It's a leadership book. It's the best damn ship in the Navy. I don't know if any of you have any family or relatives that are in the military or anything, but the captain of the Benfold has written a book about this was the worst performing ship ever in the Navy. And it's a great read. I've actually read it more than once. And I'll give you a little tidbit out of this book. He went from the worst performing ship to the best, and in the transformation that he did was him not being up here and everybody that reported to him down here. You guys understand what I'm saying? He treated them like equal. He went to the boiler room. He went to the kitchen. He went everywhere. What's going well, what's not going well? What do we need to do? How can we help? So anyway, he brought the admirals on board his ship. They couldn't believe the performance. And he started kicking the butt out of everybody in the battle drill tests. And so he brought the admirals on. It was chow time, and they had a barbecue on the ship, on the deck of the battleship. And the admirals came on and went right to the front of the line and cut in front of everybody that was on that battleship to eat. Where do you think the captain of the Benfold went? He went to the back of the line. You want somebody to jump in a foxhole for you? You want somebody to believe in you and that sort of thing, and you want people to get engaged, and you want to solve problems, you want to be innovative, you want to think about entrepreneurship. This is a remarkable book, and I highly recommend that. It's a great read. It's a short read. Another book is called Good to Great. Again, dealing with people. The first thing in this book, he says, first who, then what. Build your team. Surround yourself by good people. Build your team. First who, then what. And the next book that I don't have in here, it's a very short read. And if you work at our company, at Bradley Corporation, one of the first things you're going to have to do is you have to read a small book. It's a short book. It's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's tiny. And I know you guys are all in college, and you're thinking about a million different things, and what am I going to do tonight, and where am I going to go have dimers at the local bar here in town, or whatever it might be. I get it, but read that book. Read the book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, because you're going to need it in the real world. The last thing is make big happen. Passion, fire. For CEOs, entrepreneurs, and leaders. For those of you who have an entrepreneurial spirit, think big or go home, basically. So those are some tidbits that I have for you. How many of you guys? Everybody knows Mark Zuckerberg, right? I have this on every quarter. I have employee update meetings, and I have this as one of the slides in here. And I thought it was a great quote by Mark. The biggest risk is not taking any risks. In a world that's changing really quickly, the only strategy that's guaranteed to fail is not taking risk. So if you're passionate and you believe in something, are you going to make mistakes? Yeah. I can tell you one of our products that we have, we call it the Wash Bar. It's the most innovative product. I mean, it's shaking up the industry right now. It's an all-in-one. It's got water, soap, and a hand dryer, all in one in a sink. It's our 3rd generation. The first 2 failed. So you can imagine, you got, if you're passionate about it, and you believe in it, and you know it's going to work, this one is just, I mean, it's going crazy. But we've gone through 2 generations or 2 cycles of learning and, thinking what we knew was right and, finding out what the interior designer likes, what the architect likes, so on and so forth. How much time do we have? I mean,
We have
okay?
like 10 more minutes or
Okay.
something, so we're good, yeah.
All right, I've been talking a lot. Any other questions of myself while you have me here? Yeah, that's a great question. What else?
I actually have another question.
Yep.
Since you're here. So we hear a lot about the decline of manufacturing in the US and we hear about robots replacing jobs. But when I hear you, I feel very optimistic that not only are we going to have manufacturing in the future, but also you are in need of people. Can you talk a little bit about the myths that people have about manufacturing and what you think the future looks like for
Manufacturing?
the sector? Yeah.
So, 20 years ago, in the late 90s, China was going through an industrial revolution. And it was, like this. And everybody said, we got to go to China, we got to move to China, we got to get stuff made in China. But you had some ownership, but not complete ownership. And everything I say is not 100% accurate, but where I'm going with this is that with something like China 20 years ago, you can imagine taking an employee, you have to supply the housing, but an employee coming into work in China was making 25 cents a shift. $0.25 a shift. Getting paid 25 cents for 8 hours of worth of work. And some would work 2 shifts, but you had to supply the housing. So you had to supply housing and food and all that kind of stuff. Some people would work 2 shifts. So could you imagine working 16 hours a day or roughly, or 12 hours or 14 hours a day for 50 cents? And it's crazy. So I guess where I'm going is a lot has changed, a lot has evolved. Technology has been a huge advancement over the years in helping companies. Manufacturing is starting to come back to the U.S. because of things that are changing. Are we the cheapest or the most cost-effective manufacturer or product that we manufacture? No. No. Can you find something in China cheaper? Yeah. But I can tell you, we do business all over the world, and people want products that are made in the USA. And the employees that we have are very passionate about, I can put this in my hand today and say, I made this today. I can walk out to the manufacturing floor, I can take somebody out there and say, look, this is what we do. This is what our people have pride in. They can physically put it in their hand and say, we made this today. So manufacturing is very challenging. The reason why we're putting manufacturing plants in schools, it's just like, it's like Europe, like Germany, you know, things that they're doing over there, the tech schools, that sort of thing. Job openings. I think we have, our VP of HR said we had 27 openings in manufacturing. And so it's changing. It keeps me up at night because the older generation's retiring, and you know I have to figure out ways to get people into manufacturing. But we have to change our thought process. We have to change how we do it. So I am not a proponent. You have to believe in manufacturing in your own backyard. You have to be competitive. There's ways to do it. If other companies can do it, we can do it. Now there's certain things that you can't get made here in the U.S. anymore. And there's certain things that don't make sense to get made here anymore, and we have to buy them out. We have to buy from a manufacturer in Taiwan or China or Vietnam or other countries that may make some of the stuff that you can't get here. But it's a growing challenge. I think CEOs in our community need to work together. Hopefully some of the stuff that we're doing to start promoting that. I had a CEO, I think I told you at lunch, that asked me, he goes, well, Bryan, I didn't go to school at Arrowhead, Germantown, Menominee Falls, or West Bend. I said, just because the kids don't go to school at Germantown, Menominee Falls, Arrowhead, or West Bend, doesn't mean that they're going to work in the industrial park that the school is in. They might go work at Harnischweger. They might work at Joy Global. They might go work at Harley. So just because we help out or are donating money and building manufacturing plants in schools, that student may go work at Johnson Controls, may go work at Rockwell. So it's still very challenging, but we have to continue to work on it. We work with technical schools like WCTC, those places to help with manufacturing and getting it back. But and the beauty that I like about manufacturing here is we have control. We have ownership, and we can control our quality. If I don't have ownership, it's very difficult to control our destiny and the quality. Yeah, great question. Anything else?
I think that's great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.